So, is the PlayStation 5 any good? And should you buy yourself one? That's the question I think a lot of people are asking themselves. And another question they're asking themselves is, when will I be able to buy myself one? Because we all know the problems there. But I'm not talking about that this morning. What I'm actually talking about this morning is just what I asked. Is the PlayStation 5 any good? I've actually had the PlayStation 5 for, 10 days now, something like that. Didn't get it as early as some of the people in the US because obviously it was released later in the UK. But I have had it for a while now and I have been playing with it and I have been enjoying it. And if you saw my unboxing, you'll know that my first impressions of the hardware was that it actually looked okay. And my impression now is exactly the same. If you're talking about the hardware, I actually think the PlayStation 5 looks pretty good. And I actually like it when it's horizontal as well. I know a lot of people were saying, you have to have it vertical. I'm using it in my office and I have to have it horizontal because it's sitting under a television. And if I sat it up in vertical, well, it'd get knocked over every time I move the telly, which I do when I'm playing. I move it out from the wall. But anyway, enough of that. The hardware itself, I think, looks pretty good. I don't like the fact that it's kind of got this white and the black. The black really attracts dust. I've already, cleaned it a few times because it's a magnet for dust. So I don't like that aspect. But the actual hardware and the way it looks and everything, it's subjective. But the more I've had time with it, the more I like it. And I do think it is quite a striking piece of kit. The size of it, on the other hand, that could be a problem. And I already said that I've had to lay it down. But if you wanted to put it in a hi-fi cabinet, you might actually find you've got problems there. And if I was going to use it in a lounge, I'd actually have to stand it up and I wouldn't be able to put it in my cabinet. I'd have to sit it next to it. So that could be a problem for some people. And I do think Sony maybe should have thought a little bit more about the size of the bloody thing. At least it doesn't have that angular nonsense that the PlayStation 4 had, though. I mean, I was saying this on Twitter the other day. The PlayStation 4, when you're trying to plug stuff in, could be a real pain in the arse, especially if you're fiddling around at the back. And when you're trying to plug in USB sticks, I had some USB sticks simply wouldn't plug into the PlayStation 4. We haven't got that problem anymore. One thing I do hate about this, though, is the bloody stand. I've not used it in vertical and it has got a screw for vertical, so that might be a bit more stable. But when you're using it in horizontal, it's just got two little lugs. They clip on the back and there's no way of holding it from coming forward. So if you're plugging in cables at the back, every time you try and plug a cable in at the back, the bloody thing drops off the stand, which is a pain in the arse. So I don't like that either. Other than that, though, as I say, I think the hardware is pretty good. And if you're talking about the hardware, then the DualSense controller is quite a revelation. I found that I really enjoy it. Now, I talked in my unboxing about the way it feels. Since then, obviously, I've been using it. And with Astro's Playroom, this one here, I found that it was actually a lot of fun and the resistance on the triggers was fun and on all the rest of it. The sticks are good. The sticks on the PlayStation are always good, or they have been for the last few years. I've never had a problem with the sticks. The rubberized grip, I know some people have said come away. I don't know whether that will happen on this one. It feels quite sturdy. The controller is nice. It looks slightly better in the hand than it does in pictures, I think. I still don't really like the design of it. The black and the white doesn't really do it for me. But, again, that's a personal preference, and apparently they are going to be releasing different coloured ones. Hope they release black and dark blue as well. They'll be nice. But the actual haptics and everything like that works really, really well. Whether I'll want it in everything like shooters and things like that, I might want to turn it off for stuff like that. So it could become more of a pain than a blessing. But for the time being, I am really enjoying it. I haven't had any problems with battery life, but then most of the time I have it plugged in. But my personal preference is I don't like rechargeable controllers. If the battery goes on it, you're either stuffed or you have to fiddle around taking it apart and trying to get in there and find a replacement battery and all the rest of it. I much prefer having AA batteries that you can plug in. And I've got a charger, and I've said this loads of times, I've got a charger, I plug it into the charge, I plug my batteries in and I charge them, and then when I'm using them on my Xbox controller, I just swap them out. So if my controller's getting low, I just grab a couple more controllers, slam them in, turn it back on, and away I go. With this, if you're playing in a lounge or somewhere where you can't have it plugged in, and like I say, I'm in the office so I can have it plugged in, it's a pain. And yeah, that's personally, for me, that's my personal preference. I prefer batteries. But the battery life, as I say, so far, I haven't had a huge problem with it. I tried using it wirelessly yesterday for some considerable time. Didn't run out of juice. So for the time being, it's pretty decent. It's a nice controller. It does give you that new console feel, much more so than the Xbox controller. And I'll do a video about the Xbox next week, hopefully. And the Xbox controller feels pretty much the same thing again. Whether you like that idea or you prefer what PlayStation's done, again, it's going to be personal preference. The only issue I've had with the PlayStation 5 controller is that I have had a little bit of hand cramp in my right hand when I'm using it a lot. That's something I don't get with the Xbox controller. Again, that's going to vary from person to person and, your hands and all the rest of it. I do find the Xbox controller to be slightly more comfortable, but, different people, different hands, all the rest of it. If we're moving on from the controller, though, what else? I did find with the actual PlayStation 5 the other day, yesterday, in fact, when I was playing it, excuse me, I did find that I was hearing some sort of noise. Now, I don't know whether it was disc noise or whether it was fan noise, but it did ramp up for a couple of minutes. Wasn't that noticeable, but it was louder than I was expecting. So I need to look into that a bit more. At this stage, I have no idea what that was, and I don't think it's a big deal, but I am interested to find out what that might be. I suspect it was the disc because I did put Days Gone in to install the disc of Days Gone, and we'll get to that in a minute why I had to do that. But I think it may have been the disc drive, although at the time I suspected it might have been the fan ramping up. So again, that requires a little bit more time on that one. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal at this stage. I know some people have said, what happens when Sony ramp up the fans, because they want to get rid of some more heat, especially when you get an SSD in there, and then the fan noise is increasing. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I hope that doesn't happen. But personally, I'd rather have a bit more fan noise and keep the bloody thing cool than have it overheating. So again, we'll have to wait and see on that. If we're talking about SSDs though, that's one area where I have been a little bit irritated with the PlayStation 5. They should have had the external SSDs or the plug-in SSDs ready to go at launch. I've already put a USB hard drive plugged in, a USB SSD plugged in for my PlayStation 4 games, and well, that's the only way around it at the moment, but you're not going to be able to play PlayStation 5 games with the plugged in SSD. Let me just show you. I've gone in. Let me show you here. If we go into storage, there's not a huge deal on my internal at the moment. I've only got a couple of games on there, if I remember rightly. But I have got the external storage. So that was another 1 terabyte Crucial SSD, which I've been using for my PlayStation 4 games. Now, I had some problems there, and I'll show you one of the problems I had. This happened this morning when I turned on my PlayStation 5, and this is what I saw. The extended storage drive wasn't removed properly the last time you used it. When removing an extended storage drive, go to Settings, Storage, Extended Storage, and then select Safely Remove from PlayStation 5. This will prevent data loss, corruption, or damage to the extended storage drive. That's all very well, but I never removed it. It was plugged in. It was left plugged in all night. At no point since I plugged it in yesterday, have I removed it? So that's a problem. And I hope it doesn't cause any more issues for me. But yeah, I'm a little bit on tenterhooks with that at the moment, because I have heard some people had some real issues with this, actually down to the point where it was causing their PlayStation 5s to brick. So hoping that won't happen to me. But yeah, it is a little bit concerning, because it shouldn't be giving me this message, given that I've never removed it. And yeah, I actually found that the update that was installing yesterday for Days Gone has started all over again. So God knows what happened there. But anyway, I think we've pretty much covered the hardware. If we go back to the desktop, which, as you can see here, is quite clean. I quite like it. Moves backwards and forwards quite quickly. If we go into Switcher, you'll see here, got the Switcher, which I'll cover in a minute. But let's just go home for the moment. If you look at the UI here, the UI is, I actually in some respects prefer the UI to the PlayStation 4 UI. I like this. It's very clean. It's very crisp. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on YouTube because of the way they compress things and all the rest of it. I'm recording this in 4K. It looks very clean and very crisp. And it's very pleasant to look at, you know, and it's quick. There's no stuttering. There's no nonsense there. Very fast. You can see everything moving extremely quickly. Go into here. It's all very, if I go across to installed, this is what confused me initially. You've got console storage, and then you have to go down to extended storage. I wasn't sure about that initially. So that, yeah, I like that. I think that's good that they've separated out extended storage from console storage. So that's good. What else? Let me go back home again. If we go there, oh, let's get out of there. Right, we're at the top again. One thing that did irritate me about this, if you look at the this list of games and all the rest of it at the top here, you've got the PlayStation Store. This is something I like, actually, before we get into that. I like the fact that the store's just there. You don't have to click on it. You can just go down and you can browse from here, and it's all pretty fast. You've got your options, PlayStation 5 games, PlayStation 4 games, free to play, VR, and all the rest of it. Collections. Oh, that's interesting. I've not seen that before. It's taken a while to load those up. So that is a little bit slower than I was expecting. Not seen that on the PlayStation 5 before, or the PlayStation 4 for that matter. But yeah, that's pretty fast. I like that. I like the fact that you've got these backgrounds that are fluid and come in as you go across. Somebody said that you don't get these backgrounds with the Xbox. You do. You have to decide whether you want to use these or not. You can select to have the games showing the graphic for the game that you're looking at. So you can do that with the Xbox. I like the way the PlayStation have done this, though. What I don't like is, you can't see this, but I'm actually hitting left on the controller here and nothing happens. And I had this with the PlayStation 4 as well. I hated it. The fact that I can't go across to there by hitting left. I have to go all the way along to the bloody right. It takes forever and it's a pain in the arse. And then you can get into your games library from there. Again, you don't have to click on it. You can just go straight down. So I do like that. But yeah, that's a minor quibble. I wish they'd sort that out. If we hit the PlayStation button again and we go down, you've got the home here. The interesting thing here is, if I go left now, watch this. It goes across to power. So it does it on the bottom menu. But not up here, which I find really odd and a little bit, well, it's strange that it does it in one place but not the other. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, if you go down to home here, this is something that confused me initially. I couldn't work out how to turn the bloody thing off or put it into standby. Because normally, you know, on the PlayStation 4, you would just hit the PlayStation button and hold it, and then it'd bring up a menu. So I was like, well, how do I turn the bloody thing off? And I went across to settings. I thought it might be in there. No, it wasn't in settings. Where it actually is if you hit the PlayStation button and go down to home and then either scroll across or just go left, you've got power. Select power and you can hit rest mode, turn the PlayStation 5 off, restart the PlayStation 5. Now, I have heard people have had issues with rest mode, specifically with PlayStation Miles Morales. I've not played Miles Morales yet because I'm still playing the DLC for Spider-Man. So I don't know whether that's going to be a problem for me or not. But at the moment, I would say actually turn your PlayStation off rather than going into rest mode. I know it's a bit of a pain, but it starts up so quickly, it's not really a big deal. So yeah, with these SSDs, it actually is pretty fast. So there's that. What else? Yeah, here, there's no option to create folders. Took PlayStation a while to do that with the PlayStation 4. I don't see why they couldn't have been there from the beginning with the PlayStation 5. It's a minor quibble, but yeah, I do wish that folders were an option at the moment. Maybe they will appear down the line. Let's hope it doesn't take too long. But for now, you're going to just be stuck with what we've got here. And like I say, it is fast, it is fluid, so it's not a big deal. We've got media here. I like that. The fact the media is separate, that's pretty good. And then let's go back across the game. Sorry about that. The bell just rang, so put me off my stride a bit. But yeah, as I say, the UI's pretty cool, and I do like it. So those little caveats aside, I don't think it's a huge deal. If you go into settings, that's fairly easy to go into. I also found the actual setup was pretty straightforward as well. And if you've already got a PlayStation 4, get the app on your phone. That helped set it up. I found that with the Xbox as well. Setting it all up was a lot simpler when you had your phone. Same with the PlayStation. So the overall experience with the UI, like I say, with a couple of caveats, is actually really nice. So I like the hardware on the whole. I like the UI on the whole. And, well, it's got some decent games. The only issue I had, the games play well. The games look gorgeous. I mean, if I go into Spider-Man here, I've got Spider-Man loaded up. And the games look absolutely gorgeous. One thing, as I say, one thing I did find, this is just Spider-Man remastered, so it's not even Miles Morales. And I think Miles Morales looks even better. One thing I did find, though, somebody, I saw someone on Twitter, I think it was saying about, fast resume on the Xbox and saying, well, PlayStation 5 has got fast resume as well. And no, it hasn't. If we go out here and we go, well, let's go across here. We go across to Switcher. I don't know if you can hear that, but that was my PlayStation ramped up. I think that was actually the fan. So, yeah, you probably didn't hear that, but all of a sudden my fan started making more noise. So I don't know what that was. Anyway, let's get to the point. If you look here, we've got Switcher and Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered and Days Gone and Astro's Playroom. As you can see, Spider-Man's up in the background. If I go to Astro's Playroom now, play, it starts to load up, but it doesn't do what the Xbox does. Now, it loads up really fast. Don't get me wrong. This is very fast, and we're seeing this in real time. And this is it's almost in there already, but it isn't loading the save in the background like it does with the Xbox. Now, I will say this. Astro's Playroom is phenomenal. I know a lot of other people have said this. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, but it is phenomenal. If you get a PlayStation 5, play this game. It really does show off the DualSense controller. I'll get that right eventually. Really does show off the DualSense controller, and it is a lot of fun to play as well. The haptics and everything. It is a great tech demo, but it's a lot more than a tech demo. But as you saw there, it didn't load up where I was before, which is what happens on the Xbox. I go into a game and there's problems with it at the moment, but when it works, when you go into the Xbox and you load up a game that's in storage, that's, you know, that you've been playing, it takes you immediately back to the save. So if we go here and we go to Switcher and I go back to Marvel's Spider-Man and play, you'll see it's not taking me back to where I was before. It'll take me back into the menu. There you go. Press start and I'm back in the menu. Now, if I go into where I was before and I do continue, it'll take me in. This is where I was before. So it's pretty fast. It's just not as kind of crisp and non-hands-on, if you like, as it is on the Xbox, where you know it's a no-brainer on the Xbox. And the thing is, with the Xbox, you go to a different Xbox as well, and it carry on from the same place pretty much. And you can turn your Xbox off and start again, and all the rest of it. It's pretty cool on the Xbox when it works. I don't think this is a huge deal though on the PlayStation 5. This here though, this you can't hear at the moment. There's a conversation going on between Miles and Spider-Man. That's because the conversation, I'd already heard this conversation, and what's happened is I've gone in and it's loaded up a save game, and the save game was at the point before that conversation happened. So the conversation is now happening again. And as I say, that doesn't happen on the Xbox. That conversation would have already happened and it would just carry on from exactly where I left off. So it is slightly different. It doesn't work in quite the same way, and it isn't quite as slick. But yeah, it's not a huge deal in and of itself. It still does load up very fast. The other small issue I had was, I say small issue, I'm hoping this doesn't become more of an issue, was with PS4 games. Now, I had a real issue with, and this is a hangover from the PlayStation 4 days as well, and why Sony haven't sorted this out, I don't know. But the problem I had was I went into Days Gone, and if I go into Days Gone here, you'll see it'll start to load up, and it says start without updating because it's still doing that bloody update that it tried to do yesterday. Anyway, let's start without updating, and my fan's going again. Don't know if you can hear that, probably not, but my fan's going again. So yeah, the fan, I don't know if this is because of an update or what, but the fan is a bit noisier than it was last week. On the whole, I hope there's nothing wrong with my PlayStation. But this will load up now, and yeah, we can forget about update game or app to use network features. It's going to take an age. Don't know why it's taking so long, but it is. This is coming off an SSD, by the way, a USB SSD, the one that I had plugged in that it told me got unplugged without being unplugged properly. But this is coming off an SSD, and it does load up reasonably quickly. As you can see here, I've got continue, and it will take me into the game. Now, that's because, that's what the noise I think I heard this time. The disc is in there, so that might be in the disc this time. It wasn't before, but it is this time. I think it was the disc this time. Now, this will load up, and it's fine. As you can see here, it's loaded up and it's playing. The problem I had was that I went into... see if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. Let's go across. I think it's in collections. Featured collections created by PlayStation... PS Plus collection, that's the one. That's what I wanted. Now, if we go across to PlayStation Plus collection, you see it got Days Gone. It says installed there and it's showing disc. I actually installed it from here. I didn't install it from the disc on my PlayStation 5. I installed it from the PlayStation Plus collection. And then I downloaded my save games, and it didn't work. So I don't know how many games this happens for, but I definitely found this with Days Gone, and I have heard that it happens with some other games as well, that if you've got the disc version and you've been playing the disc version, don't get rid of your disc, because even though I've got it on the PlayStation Plus collection, the save game that I had for the disc, for some weird reason, won't work with the PlayStation Plus or the digital version. And I went and looked online, and loads of people were having this problem. As I say, I don't know how widespread that is, but if you've got any disc games and you've got the free digital version and you've been playing it on disc, don't get rid of your disc until you've checked that your save works, whatever you do. Again, it's a bit of an irritation, and it is a hangover from the PlayStation 4 days. And Microsoft, do that kind of thing so much better. It comes back to that, the quick resume and everything, and the fact that I can pick up my phone and play with the same save game as I do on my Xbox, or I can go to a different Xbox and log on and play with the same save game. It's not as clean or crisp with the PlayStation. So, there are some niggles, and don't get me wrong, I'm not ragging on the PlayStation here, because there are some niggles with the Xbox as well. That's not perfect. It's just, Xbox does some things better, PlayStation does some things better. It's just, swings and roundabouts. One system isn't better than the other at everything. The PlayStation is, for now, the games on the PlayStation, for my money, are still better. I don't think there's any real argument there. I think it's pretty obvious that the PlayStation games are better. We've got Demon's Souls, not really my sort of game, but still, from what I understand, talking to my friend who is a big Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, fan, he said it looks beautiful. I haven't got it yet. It's on my Christmas list. I'm hoping I get it for Christmas. Whether I'll ever play through it and finish it is debatable. But it is a good console launch game. Spider-Man Miles Morales. As I said, I've not played Spider-Man Miles Morales yet. Glad to have it. The images I've seen of it looked fantastic. It is a good launch game. The original Spider-Man and the remaster, I'm loving playing through the additional content that I didn't get to play on the PlayStation. I'm playing it on the PlayStation 5 now. The games are better on the PlayStation 5. So overall, I know this has been a long one, but I just wanted to cover as much as I could. Overall, I think the PlayStation 5 is a great console. I like the hardware. I like the controller. A few issues. I like the software. I like the UI. But it has got problems, and I am concerned about that issue with the SSD, and I am concerned that people have had bricked consoles, and I am concerned that the fan does on occasion seem to ramp up. I am concerned that Gamers Nexus found that the memory runs very, very hot. These aren't things that I'm going to sweep under the carpet or pretend they're not issues. They are issues. Hopefully they're issues that are easily solved. Some of them are, I think, more than others. And I will be interested to see what happens when the SSDs become available and we get more heat in the PlayStation 5, whether the fan noise will ramp up. Other than those issues, though, and, we always get these issues with a new console, I'm enjoying the PlayStation 5 on the whole. I do kind of cross my fingers when I turn it on now, because of those issues with things like this. And I know I keep harping on it, but, this is not a small issue. If this causes real problems, I could lose games. I know I can download them again, but I could lose saves. Any number of things could go wrong. And as I say, I have heard that people have had bricked consoles. It has been fun, though. I'm glad I've got the PlayStation 5. I'm glad that I can play these games on it. I'm glad it's got backwards compatibility, even though it has been a bit of an arse to fiddle with at times. And I did, with Ratchet and Clank, wouldn't download its update either. So backwards compatibility is definitely a lot more flaky on the PlayStation 5 than it is on the Xbox. I just plugged my Xbox USB hard drive into my Xbox Series X and carried on. That's all I did. Same saves, everything. No hassles, no problems. I have discs of a game. I can play it off the disc, or I can just use the digital version. The Xbox doesn't care. It really doesn't. And I wish Sony would sort that side of things out, because that's one area where the Xbox is way ahead. Games-wise, though, as I said before, it's a no-brainer. The PlayStation 5 has some great games. And Astro's Playroom, believe what people are saying about Astro's Playroom. It is a joy to play. Should you buy a PlayStation 5 if you can find one? No. Well, given its current state and some of the issues, I would say if you're not like me, I mean, I've got a YouTube channel and I can kind of justify it to myself, even though the expense is not something I'm going to recoup anytime soon. I can kind of justify it to myself buying a PlayStation 5 and buying an Xbox Series X. Would I have bought them otherwise? I may have bought one. I don't know whether I would have bought both of them. Whether I would have bought an Xbox or a PlayStation is again debatable. Unless you really, really, really want to play Demon's Souls right now, or play Miles Morales right now, wait till next year. Wait till some more games are out there. Let the teething troubles be sorted out. Let idiots like me deal with them and have the problems, and maybe have to send our PlayStations back or our Xboxes back. And when things have settled down and these things are more robust, and we're not getting these crashes and we're not getting this kind of thing, then that's the time to buy, I think. And then there will be stock available as well. When you get into June next year, July, August, maybe even coming up to September next year, you won't have these problems, and you'll be able to walk into a store and buy them, especially as by then, hopefully, all the vaccinations will be out and people will be able to get, their COVID vaccinations and be out in the shops. You'll be able to walk into a store, GameStop in the US, Game in the UK, wherever, and just buy one of these consoles and know it'll work for the most part. So yeah, that's my advice. Don't buy one now, even though I'm loving it. All right, look, I know this was a long one. I'm going to bugger off now. I'm going to grab a cup of tea and I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.